as we move through, we will take a look at the function of each of the following components of your male reproductive organ. Of course, you have your male copulatory organ here. You have your, what they call this, penis. You have the testes, and then you have here your uh, you have your seminal vesicle, you have your prostate gland, and then you have your bulbourethral gland, and of course, you have here your what they call this urethra. Okay, your urethra, of course, it is a conduit for both urine and sperm. Your pair of testes, these are the primary male reproductive organs, and yes, they are responsible for producing sperm and hormones. Okay, you also have your genital ducts, you have your epididymis, your ductus deferens, and then your ejaculatory ductus accordingly. These genital ducts, of course, are uh, these are passageway, okay? These are passageway, or they transport the sperm from the testes to the outside environment. And yes, of course, you have your accessory organs. You have your seminal vesicles, that's what we said earlier, prostate and bulbourethral glands, which, of course, these ones produce fluid, or they produce the non-cellular portion of the semen. And yes, they produce fluids that nourish and protect the sperm accordingly. And of course, you have the male urethra. This is a vessel or a channel wherein the semen and the urine exit the body. And of course, you have the penis. This is the external organ that delivers sperm into the female reproductive tract. Of course, all of these structures, they work in harmony, of course, to ensure the production, maturation, and delivery of sperm, as well as the secretion of hormones essential for the male reproductive. But your male reproductive system functions for the production of the sperm. Okay? And yes, it is again responsible for generating sperm cells, which are important for the fertilization and continuation of genetic lineage. Okay, in the production of, yes, in the production, of course, of your offspring. Okay, and yes, aside from production of sperm, it is also it produces your sex hormones. So your male reproductive, of course, produces your sex hormones. Your testosterone, that is the primary male hormone, and it plays a vital role in the development of male characteristics, also maintaining reproductive tissues and supporting overall fertility. And yes, your male reproductive organ, reproductive system helps in the possession of sperms in the female reproductive tract. Of course, the system ensures that the sperm are effectively delivered to the female reproductive tract, enabling possibility of conception and producing an offspring. Your testes, these are oval shaped organs that are located within the scrotum, and each testis is surrounded by a thick connective tissue capsule called as your tunica albuginea, which this tunica albuginea provides protection and structure. Okay, just beneath the layer is your tunica vasculosa. This is a vascular connective tissue coating that supplies blood to the testes. Okay? In the development of your testes originate from the intermediate mesoderm of your genital ridge in the abdomen, along with primordial germ cells from the yolk sac. As the development progresses, the testes will descend from the abdomen into the scrotum, where in the scrotum they remain throughout life accordingly. Okay, please note that the structural positioning of the testes is important, okay, to maintain your sperm cell. This one actually is an illustration showing your testes. course, this whole here, this whole thing here is your testes. And of course, you have your septum. Okay, your septum still is made of connective tissue. Okay, you have your testicular lobules, you have your seminiferous tubules present, of course, and then you have your tunica albuginea. Okay, you have your epitestes, and then you have your epididymis, and then ductus deferens. Okay, you have here still an illustration showing you the layers. Of course, you have here in this portion is your scrotum. Your scrotum, that is the skin that covers, or that, yes, that covers your testes. Okay, you have here your scrotum, and then of course you have already here your testes. Okay, you have your seminiferous tubules, and then you have the septa. Okay, seminiferous tubules, and then you have the septa. Of course, the whole thing here is a testis lobule. Okay, you have your tunica vasculosa, and then you have your tunica albuginea. This is your outer covering of your testes. Tissue septa arises from the capsule that surrounds the testes, and it will divide into more than 250 incomplete lobules. So please note that at the center there is a thickened part of the tunica albuginea that is called as your mediastinum testis. This mediastinum testis provides a passage for the blood vessels and ducts within the testes, ensuring proper support and transport for sperm and your hormones. Lobule of the testes, there are 1 to 4 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. Okay, there are 1 to 4 highly coiled seminiferous tubules, and these tubules they are surrounded by a connective tissue stroma. And they are the actual sites, of course. Your seminiferous tubule is the actual site where sperm is produced accordingly. In between your seminiferous tubules are specialized or special cells called as your interstitial cells of the Leydig. Your interstitial cells of the Leydig, these are cells found in the connective tissue, and they play a crucial role in producing testosterone, which is your main sex hormone. Together, of course, the seminiferous tubules in the Leydig cells ensure that the testes can both generate sperm and produce hormones that are essential for the male reproductive system. And this is again an illustration showing you your lobules, or the testes showing you your lobules, and then your seminiferous tubules accordingly. Your seminiferous tubules, at the end of each seminiferous tubules, the sperm will travel through the straight tubule. Your straight tubule, this is the terminal straight part located near the mediastinum testis. It is located near the mediastinum testis, and the straight tubules then form a network called as your rete testis that is found within the mediastinum. Ureterocytes, again, these are a network of straight tubules found within the mediastinum. Of course, from the retitestis, you have 12 to 30 efferent ductules that arise at its upper end, which will eventually carry the sperm out of the testes and toward the epididymis. Please note that, again, this organized network ensures that the sperm produced in the seminiferous tubules are efficiently transported through the testes and onward in the male reproductive tract. What do you call this? Your spermatozoa, after being produced in the seminiferous tubules, your sperm travel through the efferent ductules and then enter the epididymis. Please note that your epididymis is a highly coiled structure where the sperm will mature, and that is also the site of sperm storage. Okay, from here, from the epididymis, the sperm will eventually continue their journey as to the ductus deferens, moving closer to the point of ejaculation. your seminiferous tubules. Each, accordingly, of your seminiferous tubule is about 50 centimeters long and 150 to 200 micrometers in diameter. And yes, the seminiferous tubules, they are lined by a complex stratified epithelium, which of course, this stratified epithelium contains two main type of cells. You have your Sertoli cells and spermatogenic cells. Later on, we will learn that your Sertoli cells provide structural and nutritional support, while your spermatogenic cells, they are responsible for the different stages of sperm development. Of course, they are precursor cells, progenitor cells. And yes, together, of course, the Sertoli and spermatogenic cells ensure the continuous production of sperm within the testes. Actually is a histologic image showing you your seminiferous tubules. Okay, the ones in this ones, these are your seminiferous tubules. Okay, which are lined by germinal epithelium and enclosed by lamina propria. Okay, of course, these ones, these are your what we call this Leydig cells. Okay, your Leydig cells. Present in the interstices are Leydig cells and blood vessels accordingly. That this diagram shows the different types of cells and layers found within the seminiferous tubules. At the base are spermatogonia. Okay, you have your spermatogonia, which are located at the base. Of course, there's your spermatogonia. These are stem cells that begin the process of sperm production. Okay, as the sperm cells, as the cells mature, they move toward the lumen. Okay, though they move toward the lumen from the base going up to the lumen. This is actually the lumen. Okay, they move toward the lumen, transforming into primary and secondary spermatocytes, and then into spermatids, and finally into mature spermatozoa, Of course, supporting the developing sperm cells are Sertoli cells, which provide structural support, nourishment, and they help form the blood testis barrier. And yes, the basal and abdominal compartments created by the barrier will protect the developing sperm from the immune system. Okay, from the immune system, because of course the immune system will attack it. Okay, and yes, this organized structure again ensures a efficient and protected development of a sperm within the testes. Said earlier, your Sertoli cells, they are your supporting cells. And yes, please note that your Sertoli cells, they are columnar or pyramidal in shape, and they represent the true epithelium of the seminiferous tubules. So, okay, they form a junctional complex with each other, creating your blood testis barrier. And again, as what we said earlier, this blood testis barrier is crucial, or it is important because it isolates the haploid germ cells, or your developing sperm cells from the immune system. Of course, protecting the sperm cells from immune attack. Okay, from attack of the immune system. In addition, in addition to providing structural support, your Sertoli cells, they act as supporting cells and cannot be distinguished on a standard H&E staining. Their unique features accordingly the unique features and functions of your Sertoli cells are essential in maintaining a favorable environment for for the development of sperm in the test. Note that your Sertoli cells secrete androgen binding protein, and this androgen binding protein helps bind and increase the concentration of testosterone in the seminiferous tubules. This one is important factor for spermatogenesis. Okay, Increasing the concentration of testosterone in the seminiferous tubules is an important essential factor for spermatogenesis. Please note that your Sertoli cells also secrete inhibin. They also secrete inhibin, which inhibits the release of follicle stimulating hormone by your adenohypophysis, helping to regulate your sperm production. Again, Sertoli cells, they secrete inhibin, and this inhibin will inhibit the release of FSH from your adenohypophysis. Please note that your Sertoli cells, they have FSH or follicle stimulating hormone receptors present on their surface. Okay, that when activated, your Sertoli cells, when activated by FSH, they secrete your anti-Mullerian hormone. Your anti-Mullerian hormone, this anti-Mullerian hormone helps to bind and increase the concentration of testosterone in the seminiferous tubules, which is again, this one is important in spermatogenesis course, from secreting androgen binding protein and inhibin, your Sertoli cells also secrete the plasminogen activator and transferrin accordingly. Of course, as what we said earlier, your Sertoli cells, they support and nourish your germ cells. As well as, of course, your Sertoli cells, they play a role in phagocytosis in phagocytosis, cleaning up the residual bodies left after spermiogenesis. Histologic image showing you your Sertoli cells. Your Sertoli cells, they are rarely clearly identifiable in the lining of seminiferous tubules in which active spermatogenesis is occurring. But again, your Sertoli cells, they form the entire lining of the tubule for a short distance at its distal end, shortly before it drains into the retitestis system. Okay, and so this portion. Okay, your spermatogenic cells are arranged in stratified manner, starting from the basal lamina and moving toward the luminal area. The image I showed you earlier, that is actually the arrangement of your spermatogenic cells. Okay, you have a basal cells, which are of course your stem cells. Okay, of course, the sequence of your spermatogenic cells arranged in stratified manner includes your spermatogonia, and then going to your primary and then secondary spermatocyte, and then spermatids, then finally to spermatozoa. And yes, all of these cells that I have talked about are derived from your primordial germ cells. Lamina propria of your seminiferous tubules is a thin layer of vascular connective tissue that surrounds each seminiferous tubule. It contains, of course, a few layers of contractile myoid or peritubular cells, which are located external to the basal lamina of the seminiferous tubules. Unlike other connective tissues, the lamina propria of your seminiferous tubules does not contain fibroblasts. They do not contain fibroblasts. And yes, rhythmic contractions of the myoid cells present, the myoid or your peritubular cells, help in the expulsion of sperm and seminiferous tubule secretion. Again, a rhythmic contraction of your myoid or peritubular cells help in the expulsion of sperm and the seminiferous tubules secretion, supporting, of course, the movement of sperm through the male reproductive and contributing to the overall fertility. Your Leydig cells, accordingly, they are large polygonal cells with a round nuclei. Okay, your Leydig cells, again, they are large polygonal cells with a round nucleus. And yes, they are found in the connective tissue between your adjacent seminiferous tubules. So please note that your Leydig cells, they have receptors for LH. Okay, if you have for Sertoli cells, they have receptors for FSH. Your Leydig cells, they have receptors for luteinizing hormone, or your LH. Your LH will stimulate the Leydig cells to produce testosterone. Your LH will stimulate your Leydig cells to produce testosterone. Your testosterone, again, that is your male sex hormone. Please note that your Leydig cells, they are equipped with a well-developed smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and they contain lipofuscin granules. And yes, please note that their ability to synthesize testosterone is important for the development of male characteristics and maintenance, of course, of reproductive function. Your Leydig cells are active in the following phase. Please note again, your Leydig cells, they are active during the embryonic life, starting around 5 months of development and continuing until birth. After birth, they get arrested. They are inactivated. Your Leydig cells, after birth, they get arrested. They are inactivated until the puberty period. During the puberty period, at puberty period, your gonadotropic hormone will reactivate. Your Leydig cells at puberty and remain active throughout life. This one actually shows you your interstitial cells of the Leydig. Okay, you have your interstitial cells of the Leydig, your interstitial cells of the Leydig accordingly. Okay, you have your Reinski's crystalloids here. Okay, but then of course these are your cells, your Leydig cells. And look at the blood supply to the testes. Your testicular artery forms several branches before it will pierce the capsule of the testes to form your intratesticular vascular elements. Okay, and yes, the capillary beds of the testes are collected into several veins, and you call it as the pampiniform plexus of veins. Okay, this pampiniform plexus of veins are wrapped around your testicular artery. They are wrapped around your testicular artery, and yes, the artery the veins, and the ductus deferens, together they form the spermatic cord. Okay, your spermatic cord again is formed by your artery, your veins, and your ductus deferens. Okay, the spermatic cord passes through the inguinal canal and going to your abdominal cavity to the scrotum. Please note that blood in the pampiniform plexus of your veins, which is cooler than that in the testicular artery, acts to reduce the temperature of arterial blood, forming a countercurrent exchange system. In this fashion, no, in this mechanism, it helps to keep the temperature of the testes a few degrees lower than that of the remainder of the body. It is actually cooler at least, I mean, at 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, cooler at 35 degrees Celsius. At this 35 degrees Celsius temperature, spermatozoa develop normally because at the body temperature, your spermatozoa at the body temperature, spermatozoa that develop are sterile. Okay. With that, the testes are maintained at a cooler temperature in the scrotum, aiding the cooling effect of the pampiniform plexus of the veins. Okay, again, your pampiniform plexus, it acts as a countercurrent heat exchanger. Please note your pampiniform plexus is a network of veins surrounding your testicular artery, which of course it cools your venous blood and it absorbs heat from the warm arterial blood entering the testis, thereby lowering the temperature of the testis. Okay, and yes, since it is outside the body, okay, since it is located outside of the body, okay, the temperature is further cooled down in the scrotum. Okay, as for the lymphatics, the lymphatic drainage of your testes is accomplished by your lymph vessels that accompany your testicular arteries to drain into the periaortic lymph nodes. Your spermatogenesis. Your spermatogenesis is the formation of spermatozoa from your spermatogonia. And yes, it occurs in three main phases. You have your spermatocytosis, meiosis, and spermiogenesis. Each of these phases is essential for the transformation of immature germ cells into mature and functional sperm capable of fertilization. No? Okay, please note that there are three types of spermatogonia based on the appearance of the nuclei. Okay, again, there are three types of spermatogonia based on the appearance of their nuclei, as seen on H and E staining. Of course, you have your type A dark, sorry, you have type A pale, and type B. Your type A dark spermatogonia behave like stem cells. Okay, they behave like stem cells, and they mitotically divide to form your type A pale spermatogonia. Okay, type A dark behave like stem cells again. Okay, and they mitotically divide to form your type A pale spermatogonia. Okay, this type A pale spermatogonia will further divide to form or will then divide to form your type B spermatogonia. Okay, your type B spermatogonia. Type B spermatogonia undergoes mitosis to form your primary spermatocyte. And your primary spermatocytes, these are the largest cells with spherical nuclei, and they occupy the middle region of your seminiferous tubules. Okay? Again, your type A dark spermatogonia, they have an ovoid nuclei with dark basophilic chromatin. These are actually based on H and E staining. And then your type A pale, they have spherical nuclei with clumsy chromatin and central nucleoli. And then your type B spermatogonia undergoes mitosis to form primary spermatocyte. Of course, your primary spermatocyte has 46 chromosome XY, okay? And so 46 chromosome, and of course you have X and Y chromosomes present. Okay, and then you have your meiosis phase. Your meiosis phase, your primary spermatocytes undergo meiosis to produce spermatids. Each primary spermatocyte will divide to form secondary spermatocyte, and then and then the secondary spermatocytes undergo a second meiotic division to form four spermatids. These four spermatids contains a single standard haploid DNA, two with X chromosomes and two with Y chromosomes. Diba sabi natin four? Two of these four spermatids will have X chromosomes, and two of the four spermatids will have Y chromosomes. So accordingly. Okay, again, in meiosis phase, that is the conversion of primary spermatocyte into spermatids. And the end product are four spermatids. Each of these spermatids contains a single standard haploid DNA. And then you have your spermiogenesis. Your spermiogenesis, this is the metamorphosis of spermatids by which they get converted into a spermatozoa. Metamorphosis of your And please note this transformation or the spermiogenesis, it occurs in four distinct phases. You have your Golgi phase, your cap phase, and then you have your acrosome phase, and you have your maturation phase. Accordingly. Okay, please note that in the Golgi phase, your Golgi complexes, they come together to form an acrosomal vesicle. This acrosomal vesicle determines the anterior pole of the sperm. The acrosomal vesicle, again, it determines the anterior pole of the sperm. While, of course, during your Golgi phase, your centrioles migrate to the posterior pole accordingly. Okay, the centrioles migrate to the posterior pole. During your cap phase naman, the acrosomal vesicle will cover the anterior half of the nuclei, forming the acrosomal cap. Again, in the cap phase, the acrosomal vesicle covers the anterior half of the nucleus, so forming your acrosomal cap. Actually is a histologic image showing you your spermatogonia, your various types of spermatogonia, including, of course, your type A dark, okay, and type B spermatogonia. Yes, some spermatids are also present. You have here, these are spermatids. Okay, these are your type B spermatogonia. You have your type A dark spermatogonia accordingly. It's a histologic image showing you the latter stage in which there is spermiogenesis and spermatocytogenesis. You have here your type A dark spermatogonia, type A dark, and then you have your zygotine or pachytine stages of your primary spermatocytes during meiosis. Primary spermatocytes during meiosis. They are accordingly there are just cells. Okay, and yes, you have spermatids present also, and a developing spermatozoa embedded in your Sertoli cell cytoplasm. Okay, and so these are what we call the spermatozoa. In this area, the Sertoli cells are poorly defined accordingly. Acrosome phase. The tail or the flagellum, as what you call, of the sperm extends and the nucleus condenses accordingly during your acrosome phase. The centriole modifies to form the flagellum, and the nine coarse fibrils develop from the centriole to extend into the tail. The mitochondria migrates to the middle piece, to the midpiece of the spermatozoa that will soon provide energy for motility. The tail is divided into principal piece, which is covered by a fibrous sheath, and then the end piece. Okay, in the maturation phase, most of the cytoplasm of the spermatid is shed as the Raynaud residual body. And yes, this shed cytoplasm of the spermatid is phagocytosed by your Sertoli cells. And yes, of course, during the maturation phase, the spermatozoa are released into the lumen of the seminiferous tubules in a process called as your spermiation. Your spermiation, that is the process that is the process of releasing your spermatozoa into the lumen of your seminiferous tube. Actually, is a diagram showing you the production of your sperm cells or your spermatozoa. Of course, you have here from the top, you have your type A spermatogonia or your stem cells. Of course, please note that mitosis is the mode of cell division. Mitosis po ang nangyayari. It's not meiosis in this portion. Again, in this portion, mitosis po, not meiosis. Okay? From your primary spermatocytes, okay, going to your secondary spermatocyte, that is meiosis na. Okay, primary spermatocyte undergoes first meiotic division, and then secondary spermatocyte undergoes second meiotic division, producing your spermatids. Okay, producing spermatids. And then, of course, spermiogenesis will take place after. Okay, and then your residual bodies, of course, your residual bodies here, these are phagocytosed by your Sertoli cells. Mature sperm. Please note that a mature sperm consists of a head, a neck, and a midpiece, together with a tail. Okay. Accordingly, a mature sperm cell measures about 50 to 60 micrometers in length, and in a typical ejaculation, around 200 to 300 million sperm are released in a volume of 2.5 ml of semen. Okay, again, in a typical ejaculation, around 200 to 300 million sperm cells are released in a volume of 2.5 ml of semen. Okay, you have again the head that is piriform. Okay, flattened and pointed accordingly. And yes, it is covered by an acrosomal cap over the anterior two-third of the nuclei. Again, the acrosomal cap covers over the anterior two-thirds of the nuclei. This acrosome contains digestive enzymes like hyaluronidase and acrosin, which of course help penetrate the outer wall of the ova during fertilization. The tail, is divided into neck, middle, and piece. The neck contains the proximal centriole, while the midpiece features an axial filament surrounded by spirally arranged mitochondria accordingly. And this spirally arranged mitochondria provides energy for motility. It provides energy for motility. Okay? Released from the Sertoli cells are initially non-motile, and after ejaculation, when they enter the female reproductive tract, they undergo a process called as capacitation. During this process, during the capacitation process, the glycoprotein coat from the sperm is removed, which of course enhances sperm motility and prepares the acrosome to release lysosomal enzymes, which are necessary for fertilization. It is important to note that the sperm gains partial motility while in the epididymis, but full activation occurs only after capacitation in the female reproductive tract. These are actually your phases of your spermiogenesis. You have your Golgi phase here. Your Golgi phase your in your Golgi phase again, your preacrosomal granules form in the Golgi and fuse into an acrosomal vesicle, which is near the nucleus. And yes, the vesicle marks the anterior pole of the sperm. Okay, the centrioles will migrate to the posterior pole, and the distal centriole will initiate the axoneme or your tail skeleton. And then you have your cap phase. You have your cap phase here. The acrosomal vesicle enlarges and will spread over the anterior half of the nuclei, forming your acrosomal kappa. Okay, forming your acrosomal kappa. And then you have your acrosome phase. In the acrosome phase, the nucleus will flatten. Okay, the nucleus will flatten accordingly and it will elongate. It will flatten and elongate. The anterior pole or the anterior cap pole that the anterior pole that is capped by your acrosome and the posterior pole which is linked into the tail. The cytoplasm will shift going back posteriorly. Okay, and so it will shift posteriorly. Okay, and your centrioles, they organize your what they call this axoneme. And then you have the maturation phase. The excess cytoplasm is pinched off and phagocytosed by your Sertoli cells, which are of course your residual body. Okay, these are your excess cytoplasm. Okay. And yes, the sperm will detach from the Sertoli cells and enter the seminiferous tubules of, seminiferous tubule lumen as immature spermatozoa. final modifications of your immature spermatozoa that is released from the from the seminiferous tubules occur in the duct system, in the epididymis, and in the vasa deferens. Accordingly, the whole duration of spermatocytogenesis from spermatogonium type A dark to released immature spermatozoa is about 70 days. Okay, it's about 70 days. Of course, you have here, your residual body that will be phagocytosed by your Sertoli cells. Of course, this is your Sertoli cells. Your Sertoli cells, again, they provide the nourishment and support to your uh, spermatozoa. Okay, and so this one is this green one here, this green one is your Sertoli cells. Okay, this one again shows you your sperm cells. You have the head, piriform in shape, please note. Okay, you have the neck, and then the midpiece, which is rich in mitochondria. The midpiece, and then of course the long tail or the long flagella. Okay, and so of course you have the head, and then you have the neck, and then the midpiece. Okay, and so from spermatids, you have the Golgi phase, you have the acrosomal cap phase or acrosomal phase, early maturation, and then mid maturation phase. Of course, okay, this is your mature, what they call this, mature spermatozoa. Okay, this diagram illustrates the hormonal regulation of the male reproductive system. It shows how your hypothalamus releases LHRH, or your luteinizing hormone releasing hormone. Okay, and so your hypothalamus will release LHRH, which will stimulate your anterior pituitary gland to release two hormones. You have luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, your follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So, what are the functions of the two? Your luteinizing hormone acts on Leydig cells and the testes to stimulate the production of testosterone, which is again your testosterone, that is your main sex hormone. Okay, and yes, your FSH, or your follicle stimulating hormone acts on your Sertoli cells in the seminiferous tubules, so prompting your seminiferous tubule, prompting your Sertoli cells to synthesize androgen binding protein. Your androgen binding protein will help concentrate testosterone in the tubules for effective sperm production. Okay. Please note that the sperm produced in the seminiferous tubules will first travel through the straight tubules, then will enter the retitestes and continue through the efferent ductules before reaching the epididymis. And the straight tubules, or your tubuli recti, these are short, terminal part of the seminiferous tubules. And yes, the proximal part of the straight tubule is lined by your simple columnar cells with Sertoli cells, while the distal part is lined by simple cuboidal cells accordingly. The retitestis is a complex network of interconnected tubules located in the mediastinum of the testis. And yes, it is lined by low cuboidal or low columnar cells, and each has a single flagella. Okay, it has a single flagella. This one actually is an illustration of the retitestis. Okay, again, your retitestis is a network of interconnecting channels into which your seminiferous tubules empty accordingly. The spermatozoa are transferred from the retitestis to the epididymis via the efferent ductules. Okay, of course, you have your T here. These are your two seminiferous tubules. Of course, you have here your retitestis. Ductules collect sperm from the retitestis, and yes, there are typically 12 to 15 ducts or efferent ductules, which are lined by simple ciliated columnar epithelium that rests on a thin lamina propria and circular smooth muscles. Actually is an illustration, histologic image of your efferent ductule. So please note there are mixed columnar and cuboidal epithelium present. Okay, and so mixed columnar and cuboidal epithelium. Okay, and of course you have a circumferential ring of smooth muscle. Okay, you have a circumferential ring of smooth muscle accordingly, smooth muscle fibers. Your epididymis, okay, your epididymis accordingly is a crescent-shaped structure that is located along the posterior and superior surfaces of the testes. It consists of three main parts. You have the head, the body, and the tail accordingly. And then the duct of the epididymis is about 4 to 6 centimeters in length, and the duct is lined by pseudostratified columnar epithelium that features tall principal cells and short basal cells accordingly. The entire length of the epididymis is approximately 7.5 centimeters. Within the epididymis, your sperm acquire motility. Okay, they acquire motility, which is crucial for as for what you call this fertilization of the ova. The head of the epididymis is occupied by efferent ductules, while the body and the tail accommodates a single highly coiled duct of your epididymis, serving as a reservoir for sperm until they are ready for ejaculation. Your epididymis is lined by principal cells with numerous long modified microvilli known as stereocilia. The stereocilia helps in the absorption and movement of your sperm. Okay, there are also halo cells which are intraepithelial lymphocytes found in the epididymis, contributing to immune defense. Surrounding the duct is a thin coat made of circular smooth muscle cells. And this circular smooth muscle cells, or this muscle layer, helps propel the sperm into the epididymis from the efferent ductules, and yes, it also play a role during ejaculation. The epididymis, again, absorbs excess fluid secreted by the testes and is responsible for the phagocytosis of residual bodies and defective sperms. And also, it helps maintain a healthy sperm population. Additionally, of course, the epididymis secretes a surface-associated decapacitation factor. This decapacitation factor is a glycoprotein that coats your sperms. Okay, it coats the sperm. And yes, this glycoprotein decapacitation factor is removed during decapacitation. Okay, this glycoprotein decapacitation factor is removed during capacitation. Okay, and so your capacitation is the final step that enables the sperm to fertilize an egg accordingly. Here a histologic image showing you your epididymal duct. Okay, and so which is lined by tall columnar epithelium with basal nuclei. Okay, of course, the lumina contain clumps of spermatozoa. Okay, and so clumps of spermatozoa. And then here you have here a what you call this histologic image showing you your tall microvilli or your stereocilia. Okay, you have your what you call this scattered small round cells at the base of your columnar epithelium. You have your round cells. Okay, and of course there is a narrow band of circular muscle fibers. Okay, narrow band of circular muscle fibers accordingly. Your ductus deferens, okay, is a thick walled muscular tube that extends from the epididymis to the ejaculatory duct. It ascends along the posterior pole of the testes within the spermatic cord. The terminal part of the vas deferens is dilated, or ductus deferens. The terminal part is dilated, and you call that as the ampulla. Okay, the ductus deferens is the continuation of the epididymis. Okay, it is the continuation of the epididymis. Please note that your ductus deferens, this is actually part of your spermatic cord. It is part of your spermatic cord. Okay, your ductus deferens together with your testicular artery, your pampiniform nucleus, and your lymphatic vessels accordingly. They are part of your spermatic cord. Difference consists of three layers: the mucosa, your muscle coat, and an adventitia. The mucosa, please note, it is lined by pseudostratified columnar epithelium with stereocilia. Okay, and so yes, pseudostratified columnar epithelium with stereocilia, which features tall columnar cells that extend from the basal lamina to the lumen, and your short basal cells, of course, that act as germinal cells. The lamina propria the lamina propria of the mucosa of your ductus deferens is a thin layer of connective tissue. The lumen of the vas deferens is star-shaped due to the longitudinal folding of the mucosa. Muscle coat of your ductus deferens is composed of three layers of smooth muscle. You have an inner and outer longitudinal layer and a thick middle circular layer. Again, the muscle coat, you have an inner and outer longitudinal layer and a thick middle circular layer. Of course, the muscles, they are much thicker than the mucosa, and their peristaltic contractions will help propel the sperm rapidly during ejaculation. And the adventitia of your ductus deferens is made of loose areolar connective tissue which contains blood vessels and nerves. Please note that the ductus deferens does not store sperm. Its main function is to transport or to propel sperm efficiently from the site of storage and maturation toward the point of ejaculation. Ductus deferens functions to propel sperm accordingly. Okay, the ductus deferens does not store sperm. Again, its main function is to transport sperm. Okay, and how do it transport sperm? You have peristaltic contractions that will help in the rapid propulsion of sperm during ejaculation. Actually is a histologic image showing you the what they call this showing you your lumen, or the star-shaped lumen of your ductus deferens. Of course, you have your inner longitudinal and outer longitudinal smooth muscle layer. And then you have your thick middle circular layer here. Okay, and of course, you have the adventitia. Okay, this one, it shows your tall ciliated columnar epithelium. Okay, and a basal layer of a small regular round cells. Of course, you have folds still. Okay, and so you have your round cells, you have the epithelium, you have the cilia. Yes, that's it for today. We will continue with your accessory reproductive organs next time. Again, yes, we will continue next time. Thank you for making this far. Thank you. And yes, this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, laugh often, and keep learning. And never forget to enjoy the ride. Thank you and see you around.